Hello and welcome back. This is Connor Schuh here with NWKS Radio on a Thursday morning. I'm here joined by Kansas State Senator Jerry Moran. Senator, how are you doing today?
Connor, I'm doing well. I'm in northwest Kansas. I'm in my home part of the state. I love being here. I've got to be careful on when I'm going to get out of here based upon the weather, but maybe northwest Kansas is not going to get the bulk of what may take place across the rest of the part of Kansas.
I think you're right. We might miss the snow up here, but you're here today for a bit of a ribbon cutting. Can you describe for the people that don't know what you're doing here today?
Absolutely. We've been working a long time, years, with the Citizens Health Center in Colby. The goal has been to update and modify the equipment at their hospital, and then a better facility, a more long-lasting facility, and by the efforts of lots of people in this area, and particularly people on the hospital board and local citizens and contributions, we are here today to cut a ribbon on this new hospital campus. And that's pretty darn exciting, and it is pretty darn significant for the future of Colby and for northwest Kansas. So it replaces a building that was built in 1982, but in today's world, technology upgrades mean that that building needed to be improved or replaced, and we're going to celebrate the future of Colby and access to health care for the citizens of northwest Kansas.
And you kind of said it right there at the end, but having such a big medical hub here in Colby, how big is that for just the general northwest Kansas area?
Well, healthcare is so important, and a lot of what we want to try to help us accomplish in Kansas, and particularly rural Kansas, is to see that the communities that most of us call home have a future. And that means that certainly as I see my job in Washington, D.C., is to protect and defend, to fight for agriculture. And on that, it's a little bit longer list than just farmers and ranchers. But up there with farmers and ranchers is access to health care, because the future of our communities is determined by a number of things, but one of them is, can senior citizens remain in the community, their hometown, because they have access to a doctor and a pharmacist and hospital health care? Can young families decide that they want to raise their kids in northwest Kansas because they have access to health care? Those things determine whether or not Colby and every other community in this part of Kansas is going to be around for the future. So it's not just Colby we work to help, but we're doing everything we can to try to make sure that good things happen at our hospitals across Kansas, because it is a significant determining factor about the future of the community.
And then you mentioned it right there with how important this is for just the growth and the health of the entire northwest Kansas area. But I'll key on a town like Colby for a second for you. How this creates a lot of jobs, of course, expanding this hospital. How important is that for what's now a small town in Colby to expand over the years?
Well, it takes a lot of foresight, a lot of work. It takes a citizenry that's willing to, help pay the bills to make that happen. So it shows that people in Colby, in Thomas County, are making decisions for the long-term well-being of their community. And the jobs is an aspect of, often in our towns across rural Kansas, the hospital is the largest employer in the community. And, that's an important component. And the dollars would be going someplace else, and the employees would be working someplace else if the hospital was not here and not taking advantage of the opportunity to be here long-term into the next decade, into the next generation. And so as we expand and improve our healthcare delivery system, we create opportunities for more employment in that healthcare field. It also increases the role, for example, of Colby Community College in educating a trained workforce needed in healthcare today. So there are lots of benefits that come from making certain that we have quality healthcare for the long term in our towns across the state.
And then for the northwest Kansas area, a part of the state that you care about a lot it seems like things are just continue to be on the up and up in this area. How nice is it for you seeing the growth of this area of Kansas?
It is. I mean, you said it well yourself. This is a time in which it seems like a number of our communities in northwest Kansas are succeeding or prospering. We see young people returning to their home communities. We see younger people and families moving to a place that they found to be a desirable place to raise their kids. And the economic opportunities that come from education, making certain that Fort Hays State University and Colby Community College and Northwest Tech are all doing their jobs, increase the chances of that growth, and we're seeing it as we see increasing programs and increasing students in our education system and our workforce training. I'm of the view that if there's a lot of expansion and hope for rural Kansas, as long as we can provide the workforce that business and industry need. And so what happens at the community college, the technical college, the four-year university also is a determining factor, and good things are happening in all three of those locations.
Senator Moran, I think that's all I've got in terms of questions. I'll give you the floor now to talk about whatever you would like here for a bit, just going on in Kansas or whatever it may be.
Well, Connor, you're nice to do that. I would want our farmers and ranchers to know, they heard me say earlier that it's an important component of our work in Washington, D.C. I serve on the Agriculture Committee. I serve and have been the chairman of the Agricultural Appropriations Subcommittee that funds USDA. And we are working on two important issues at the moment in the nation's capital. E15 year-round, an increasing opportunity for us to utilize the commodities that we grow and produce renewable fuels, and we see that in northwest Kansas with the ethanol plant, for example, at campus. And so E15 is poised. It's been talked about a long time, but the circumstances, there's an agreement that has been reached between the fossil fuels industry and the renewable fuels industry that moves us forward in allowing E15 to be sold at the pump year-round. We'll see if we can get that accomplished in the next few months. And then the difficulties, we talked about good things happening in northwest Kansas, but we did have some rain in the past year. It created a significant increase in the supply of grains and commodities, and that means prices are not what they ought to be, and the input costs are significantly high. And so there is an effort to improve the disaster payments or economic aid to farmers, and the Senate and House Agriculture Committees are looking at additional dollars to try to tide farmers over at a time in which exports are insufficient. We're producing more than we can consume in the United States, and we still don't have the necessary markets outside the United States. So a couple of major agricultural issues. And while I've been traveling in northwest Kansas, I've been calling a number of sheriffs and police chiefs. We worked to get some money designated in the appropriation bill that just passed the Senate to be signed by the president in the next few days. And we've designated earmarked money for local sheriff's departments and police departments in northwest Kansas. That includes Wichita County Sheriff, Trego County Sheriff, Logan County Sheriff, and the Norton City Police Department, with money that they need to train their officers to have equipment, to increase their technology, better communication assets, all with the goal of trying to make sure. This started in my world back when people were talking about defunding the police. My answer is no, we need to be helping the police with additional resources to do their jobs, protect their officers, and protect their communities. And so we were successful in naming 4 law enforcement departments in northwest Kansas to receive some additional funds to help them accomplish training and safety of their officers.
Senator
So
Moran?
again, we're
sorry.
glad to be here, and I thank you for the conversation.
Of course, Senator Moran, we really appreciate your time, and we'll be back with regularly scheduled programming here in a moment.